My name is Mark Martinez, and for this project I'm going to be talking about pornography as it pertains to violence, specifically against women and children. The proliferation of pornographic content across various mediums and platforms has become a major cause of concern for me and society. The widespread availability of pornography has raised alarm bells regarding its potential impact on individuals, communities, especially in relation to criminal activities and abhorrent behavior. I would argue that pornography is leading people in a direction that's really negative, and they're spiraling down a path and a hole that is hard to get out of. These incidences have brought to the forefront urgent need to address the negative impact of pornography and the imperative to safeguard vulnerable individuals, particularly children and women, from its harmful effects. These are the categories of people that are being victimized the most by pornography. I mean, statistically speaking, there are more clients who browse pornography in search of women and children as opposed to men. And so it's only natural that women and children are unfortunately victimized the most in pornography. There was a case in San Diego. The founder of GirlsDoPorn.com, Michael James Pratt, was arrested on charges including sex trafficking, production of child pornography, and conspiracy to launder money. His website allegedly coerced hundreds of women into appearing in pornographic videos under false pretenses, contributing to the exploitation of vulnerable individuals. There was a story, and it was a girl. I won't say her name. The source will be in the description, but she was victimized in such a terrible way. I mean, she saw an opportunity to become a model, and she had lines for herself. She refused to do any sort of nude modeling despite them asking, and she was quite literally tricked into going into a hotel where she was drugged and raped repeatedly. It's so heartbreaking because her worst moment in her life, and this is how she describes it herself, was viewed by millions of people. They would film her being raped, and they would do it over and over again, shot after shot, until she did it right, until she smiled and essentially gave the impression that she was having a good time. Super messed up. And at the time of the interview that she was doing, she was still trying to get videos like that taken down. And I mean, they say that you put something on the internet and it stays there forever. Realistically, that video is probably still being viewed somewhere by someone, and it's this girl's worst day of her entire life, and people are pleasuring themselves to it, and it's horrible. It's disgusting, and it needs to stop. All access, I'm gonna cut to the chase. All access of pornography should be completely banned, in my opinion. I really don't think there's any particularly good thing that it offers people who watch it. I think maybe you could make the argument that it helps people decompress, that if they weren't able to get their stress out in those ways, their built up tension or whatever, that they might express it in different ways that might be more hostile or more violent. But honestly, I really argue something different. I think every time that people are viewing pornography, they are conditioning their mind to view women as sex objects, to go further and further into the rabbit hole. I was going to talk about this a little later, but I'll scroll down and talk about it right now. You know, a lot of people do things like smoke marijuana, and it's commonly known as a gateway drug, but there's a lot of people who smoke it and that's never been their experience. They've never found it to be a stepping stone that leads them into a life of chasing a deeper and stronger high. We as humans have a short attention span and get bored really easily, some more than others. Some people can't resist not only overindulging, but seeking to find more and more. Porn is no different. Many simply watch to decompress and stick to the softcore tab on Pornhub, right? But many are finding themselves going deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. It starts with looking up, boobs on Google, right? But eventually they start looking for more. I mean, once they've seen it all, it gets boring. They want to see something they haven't seen. Again, not everyone's like this. Just like not everyone's going to go from smoking marijuana to doing cocaine. But some people do. They can't help themselves. And when the option is there, it can make things really dangerous. Because people don't have that self-control. And I won't talk about drugs again because I don't really want to get into that. I feel like these are two pretty different things. Porn is really damaging to the soul. And there is no real scientific way to prove that. But it's messing with people. It's causing them to just be really dark in their heart. I mean, seriously. They're watching some crazy, gross stuff. I feel dirty talking about it. I don't want to talk about all the things that are going on, all the things that people are watching, all the things that people are doing to their own children, to their neighbor's daughter, to their friends' daughters, to their nieces and nephews, to their cousins, to their own brothers and sisters. I mean, it's disgusting. And hundreds of thousands of people are seeking to watch people being tortured, people being raped, people like children. And it's terrible, and it never starts, People don't just jump right into the deep end with this stuff. Like, it starts small. You don't just stumble onto child pornography. Like, you're looking for it. So, there's a case in Korea. It's called the Nth Room case. I'm not sure why it's called the Nth Room. That's just what this online chat room was referred to. They called it the Nth Rooms. And it's a digital sex crime ring, and that was exposed in Korea. Perpetrators blackmailed women and children into making sexual and degrading videos and photos. The severity of the case, including instances of victims being forced to carve names into their skin and drink from toilet bowls, shocked the nation. Yeah, this one really shook Korea up. I mean, the country found out that thousands, tens of thousands of people all around them, teachers, firemen, policemen, brothers, sisters, uncles, mothers, fathers, sons, all these people around them could be one of the ones who is viewing these websites. So people would essentially log on to these online chat rooms and have to go through a whole series of steps just to be accepted into these things. One of the steps was you need to send a photo or video of your own, your own content. And it was highly, highly, highly encouraged that it would be, it has to be a lewd photo of a woman as young as possible, specifically, is what they were asking for. And preferably your daughter, your wife. If you don't have one, maybe your neighbor's daughter. But it has to be yeah. And the only content that was really desired was what's considered voyeur, where you're watching someone without them knowing that you're watching. That content was desired, and then also coerced and forced content as well. So people were viewing all these things. I don't even want to say any of this out loud. I really don't. This makes me so uncomfortable, but that's the problem, is that this does make people so uncomfortable. People don't want to talk about this. People don't want to think about the fact that when they go onto Pornhub and look at whatever video they're watching, they don't want to think that girl might not actually want to do what she's doing. She might be being coerced. You might be watching that girl actively being raped. People don't want to think about that. And the scary part is, some people don't care. The people who visited these nth rooms did not care. They wanted that. They seeked that. I mean, this man, one of them, there was two main guys that really capitalized this whole thing, the big name brands of the nth rooms. One of them, his name was God, and the other one, his name slips my mind, but they were both arrested, and they had a series of slaves under their control. These are very young girls, as young as 12, who essentially were coerced online to send lewd photos and videos, oftentimes with the promise of money. And then once they have one, they have some sort of leverage. And children are naive and vulnerable and can be coerced fairly easier than an adult. And in Korea, things work a little differently. Culture is a really big thing. The way you look, the way your family looks, carrying on the name, it's all really important. You can't tarnish your name, and lewd photos of yourself getting out there, unfortunately, is one of those things where you're kind of ostracized from society. So girls were very much afraid to come out and speak about these things. There were tens and tens of girls under these two men's control, and there were hundreds of girls that were in these chat rooms, these quote slaves, being controlled, being forced to cut themselves and do horrible, disgusting things. I mean, they just had no idea what they were getting into. There's so many stories that have come out. A lot of where I'm getting this information from is, I really like this one podcast called Rotten Mango Podcast, and I'll link it in the description. If you go to rottenmangopodcast.com, she has sources for all this information, and you can go to the actual Korean articles and translate them to English and really see some of this stuff for yourself. And I encourage you to do it. If you go and you look, you're going to see so many just victim testimonies that are just absolutely heartbreaking. Like, no one should have to go through this. And it sickens me that there are people out there that do want to do this to people. One of the big guys, he called himself God. He did not care about the money. He made that very clear. He wasn't actively trying to get money from all this. He genuinely loved this stuff, and he wanted to spread it. He wanted other people to enjoy it too. He wanted to just get as much of it out there as possible. He wasn't charging people hardly a thing. And that's actually one of the defenses that he used in court, was that he wasn't really charging people a lot of money, especially compared to some other people. But people were actively seeking this stuff. And in fact, when news broke out about the case and it started being publicized, there was a spike in searches for the nth rooms, how to get to them. And people, because there was police, actively monitoring some of these rooms, and more people were coming in. It's almost like they were publicizing it and bringing more attention to it. I mean, like, every step along the way in this horrible case just felt like a losing battle. Some of the perpetrators who were arrested said things along the lines of, it doesn't matter how many of us you arrest, we're always going to be there. We are your teachers, your roommates, your sisters, your brothers, your moms, your dads, your uncles. Like, we are all over the place. And it's a really sobering thought, because when you look at the numbers, when you see how many people are watching porn, think back to my example earlier. If there were 40 million or 40 billion users of marijuana a year just in the United States, and obviously not everyone's going to be smoking at that point, but if as many people as who watched porn smoked weed, think of how many people it would then become a gateway drug for. Arguably not that many, but would it be in the thousands? I mean, if you expose that many people to it, inevitably some of them have to be addiction prone. Inevitably, some of them have to want more. They're going to want a stronger high. They're going to get bored of marijuana. I mean, there are a lot of people watching porn, especially kids, and it's crazy. What is it doing to people? I mean, even in America, you can go on websites and see upskirt pictures of females. Like, viewing stuff like that and then pleasuring yourself to it conditions your mind to want to go out, and next time you see a girl in a skirt, you're going to want to take a photo like that. The more you condition your mind to do so, the more tempting that's going to be. The more likely it's going to be that you act on it. And it's a really scary thought. And that's how a lot of this stuff starts. Like I said, it really doesn't start small, not in any sense. In India, cases related to online transmission of child sex abuse materials have been increasing. 969 cases registered recently, and that was just within a year. And that's only ones they've caught. And think about all the people that we haven't caught in America. So the ninth room utilized an app called Telegram. Telegram is also something that's being used in the US, and it's not specifically made for nefarious purposes. I would say most of the users of Telegram are outside of the US, and they don't use it for nefarious purposes. It's quite literally just a messaging app like WhatsApp and things like that, but there is a very easy way to be anonymous on Telegram. It uses your phone number, but there's ways around it, and people are doing some shady stuff and ending up getting exposed by like predator poachers on YouTube and things like that, because they are going into chat rooms and harboring child pornography through Telegram. A lot of these cases, they're foreign pictures, sometimes they're foreign accounts, and there's still people here in America who are accessing these things. And there's, I'm sure, American stuff too. But there are a lot of people who are doing this and are not getting caught. And the more that we introduce porn to people, and the more that we allow it and accept it, the more and more people's minds are going to be conditioned to want more of it, to act on it when they see it in public, when they see a nice girl and they're watching all these videos of girls get raped, and they're actively seeking videos like that. Like, that's scary. How many times do you have to watch a video like that before you're completely desensitized? I mean, I don't even know what to say. I could really go on and on about this, and I wish more people would, but it's just not talked about it enough. Children are one of the most vulnerable populations, and they are being victimized, quite literally, through these Telegram group chats and things of that manner, but also in a broader sense. Men are being conditioned through porn to like things that are more and more taboo, just terrible, incestuous, younger kids. The way porn is marketed, it's leading you down this road. At present, pornography is legal in many countries, including the United States. However, the existing policies regarding pornography fail to address adequately the negative social impacts associated with its widespread availability and consumption. While some regulations exist to prevent the distribution of child pornography, the overall regulation of pornography remains lax, allowing for the proliferation of exploitive and harmful content. The prevalence of pornography contributes to the normalization of sexual exploitation and violence, as evidenced by cases like GirlsDoPorn and the Nth Room. Pornography not only perpetuates harmful stereotypes and objectification of individuals, but also creates a demand for more extreme and degrading content. This demand fuels criminal enterprises that exploit vulnerable individuals, including children, for profit. Given the clear link between pornography and criminal activities, there is a compelling argument for implementing stricter regulations, if not a complete ban on pornography. Policy changes could include enforcing stricter age verification measures to prevent minors from accessing pornography. This is actually something that was done in a few states. Texas did it, Arkansas did it, there's a few others that did it. It's fairly new, so it's hard to tell how much this has worked so far. I can tell you that for the sake of researching for this project, I did look up Pornhub, right? It is blocked in Texas. So are other sites that are pretty, popular. The more popular porn sites have Texas blocked off, but it's like every other tab. There are a whole lot that will just let you right in. So if I were a child with an iPad or a phone without parental restrictions, I can easily view any of that stuff if I just look it up. So that's pretty counterproductive, not necessarily that helpful. And the reason I say counterproductive is the top porn sites are going to be the more soft-core ones. They're going to be the ones with the stuff that the most people want to look at, you know? I don't want to say like regular, because it's definitely the more soft stuff that more people are interested in looking at are going to be on those top websites. And when you take those away and leave the rest of them, kids are going to resort to those instead. And that's almost worse, because these websites, particularly the ones that aren't the most professional, like Pornhub and these other big names, is they're a lot less monitored. They're a lot less moderated. There's a lot more stuff that people get away with on platforms like that, and it causes all sorts of problems. The more videos you see, and we're talking pornography, so I don't want to stress so much the illegal content that's being produced. Child pornography and videos of women being raped and such. But an important point that I need to make is regular pornography is really where it starts. People don't just develop an interest for the really grotesque and sick sexual things without being first attracted to other things that are sexual. Obviously there's exceptions to that, but for the most part that's really how it goes. Another policy change could be imposing harsher penalties for the production, distribution, and consumption of exploitative pornography, especially involving minors. I'm in support of the death penalty for pedophiles, particularly ones who do engage in the production of child pornography. It's absolutely sickening. Especially, I don't want to say especially when it's your own kids, because it's terrible regardless, but I mean, children being the most vulnerable of the population, they're meant to trust adults. They're meant to come into a world where they could trust the people around them, and that the people around them have their best intentions in mind. There's 40 billion plus users visiting Pornhub every year. I don't know the numbers now since the ban from Texas. The numbers may change, but not all of those people are kids. Parents should be restricting their kids' access to pornography online. But what if the parents are the ones who are watching it? What then? What is it doing to their minds? What is it doing to their minds to constantly see videos and to be interacting with individuals who are encouraging you to take pictures of your daughter or your wife without their knowledge, without their consent, and trade them online? It's terrible. There's so much of it going on. I'm in support of increasing funding for law enforcement agencies to combat online sexual exploitation and trafficking networks. This is not something they're particularly trained to do. There's not task forces for stuff like this. There are more so in the FBI, and a lot of it is they're after like the really big, hard stuff. I don't know. Like they definitely are tracking the Telegram stuff that's going on, but there's a lot of, like I said, predator poachers on YouTube and stuff like that. People who are going out and fishing for predators, essentially, and posing as young children online and making sure that young children are having safe interactions with adults online, and the adults who choose to have sexually suggestive conversations with children are exposed on the internet and brought into the police. The police are called, and oftentimes these people are arrested. There's one guy in particular, his name's Gordon Flowers. He has an arrest in, I think, 34 states. He's getting arrests in more states because there's no shortage of these things. These people are everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And I can't stress that enough. I feel like people think it's not as prominent as it is. I think a lot of the people who are watching pornography are step by step moving in this direction. I mean, like, when you watch videos like the predator poachers, and I'll link some in the description, but you get to hear what's essentially an interview of these pedophiles. A lot of them aren't even very old. A lot of them are college age, maybe a little older. And a lot of them, either something happened to them in childhood, one of the adults in their life mistreated them sexually, and that's what got them into this stuff, or it was pornography. That's almost always what it was. So in lieu of this project, I actually went around the UNT campus and I asked about 200 people total whether or not they think that pornography should be completely banned. The numbers, in my opinion, don't really matter all that much because there's so many different variables that go into what makes people say yes or no to the question. For example, when I would go up to groups of people, people were more likely to agree with the consensus of the group. I feel like this is one of those topics that it's not great to disagree upon. I don't know. It gets complicated. It's a touchy and sore subject, and it's a subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about. People who do watch porn don't really go broadcasting it to the world. So I tended to target people who were alone or with one other person. I ended up talking to more girls than I did guys. However, there were more girls who agreed to the ban than guys. 61 guys agreed to keep pornography and not ban it, as opposed to 28 girls who said that we should keep it, and 44 guys said that we should ban it, as opposed to 67 girls who said that we should ban it. So more girls wanted to ban it. I went all around UNT, and kind of depending on where I went is the answers sort of fluctuated. I went around Fry Street kind of late at night, and yeah, I got a whole lot of information there. The general consensus is, because I wouldn't just leave it at that, I would kind of pry and ask questions like, well, do you think that pornography could be harmful? Do you think it is harming people? Do you think it's increasing violence? Do you think it's increasing people's, I don't know, sexual appetite for kids, their appetite for women? Do you think it's increasing sex drive in men in a negative way? Like, they don't want to sleep with their wives as much, they don't want to go out and get a girlfriend. and instead they're isolating themselves and just masturbating. A lot of them would agree to those things and agree that porn is really damaging for people. But I think what really stopped them from fully saying that we should ban porn is more so people having the right to choose. And, essentially people need to have self-control, and if you can't have self-control with these things, then you shouldn't be on these things. If you can't control yourself smoking marijuana, then you shouldn't smoke marijuana, Ultimately, we really have to weigh the options here. I feel like this is really something that's just been damaging society for so long. And the fact that, again, I can't stress it enough, this GirlsDoPorn case is so messed up. There were a lot of girls involved in this. There were girls who were hiring other girls to be involved in this, being raped repeatedly on camera. In light of the alarming rise in criminal activities facilitated by pornography, it is imperative to reevaluate existing policies that enact measures to curb its negative effects on society. While complete prohibition may face challenges regarding freedom of expression, targeted regulations and enforcement mechanisms can help mitigate harms associated with pornography and protect vulnerable individuals from exploitation. Implementing educational programs to raise awareness about harms of pornography and promote healthy attitudes towards sexuality is something that can really help this situation. I feel like it's something that's not talked about enough because it's scary, to admit to your child that there are people in this world that want to hurt them, that it's scary out here, that they need to watch their back because there are a lot of people that want to do some really nasty things to them. There are so many people doing this to their own children, and there's videos of it all over the internet, and hundreds of thousands of people are paying, in a lot of cases, to see these videos. It's happening in America, it's happening in Korea, it's happening in India, it's happening all over the world. There's no shortage of these people or these videos. I really want to be as respectful as I can to this topic because it is so serious, and there are so many people involved in this, and there are so many people who have quite literally killed themselves over this. I don't feel deserving to speak on a topic like this, but someone needs to. More people need to. If adults don't defend children, who will? Getting rid of pornography is like, there is no shortage of these chat rooms and these places for these people to hide. It's been happening since the internet's been around. If you remember Tumblr, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. Tumblr pops up, smack. And then 4chan, smack. Reddit, smack. You have Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. There are no limits to what these people are using. When something goes away, they switch to something else. Telegram. They're using all these things to remain anonymous, and they're reaching a lot of people. I encourage anyone watching this to look at the sources that I used to gather this information, specifically the ones listed on rottenmangopodcast.com. It'll really open your eyes up to a whole world of really dark things that are going on, that people are into, and more people need to know about it. Thank you for your time.